away with 4 on the Indercourt and BB. They're followed by Isle of...
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow, Mike Callahan. Mike, good morning.
What's going on, Seth? How you doing?
Not too much. Just coming in and doing a little recap of stakes action from yesterday, which was kind of fun. Statebreds, big statebred program, obviously in New York with Empire Showcase Day. Yeah. Maryland Million down at Laurel. Also, the first ever betting card at Far Hill.
That was fun.
Their
that was
top
fun to see.
Jump meet of the year down there with the Grand National. And also, we'll take a little look overseas as well because it was Champions Day over at Ascot.
Yeah, and there were a lot of prep races. We saw Cracksman, obviously, with a tremendous performance over in Europe yesterday. We also saw a couple other horses that potentially be coming over as well. Lawrence, who faced the boys for the first time, ran a little bit of a lackluster 8th, but I think it was more of a setup for the filly and mares. Turf, which looks to be a setup for her. She's pretty good. We'll see what happens there. But like you said, there are a lot of races to go over, and we'll take a look at them today.
Roaring Lion looked good in
Roaring
his
Lion,
race.
Yes.
It was kind of a ding-dong battle. And the one that, if I can pull up the past performances quick here, the early race was kind of interesting, showing the difference between European racing and New York American racing. The British Champions Long Distance Cup was the first race yesterday at Ascot, 2 miles on the turf. Stradivarius won it, and I talked a little bit about it during the show yesterday. But you look at the record for Stradivarius, that was the 9th win in 14 career starts, put him over the $2 million mark. Hard to believe an American horse would get to the $2 million mark with these kind of races. Won yesterday at 2 miles. His 2 races just before that were 2 miles. Before that, 1.5 miles, 1 3/4 miles, 2 miles. 1 3/16 miles was the shortest race shown up on the PPs. I love the distance races, but they're just not popular over here.
No, you're right. And I was actually with a pretty gutsy performance. I believe Thomas Hobson, who was the second place performer in there, the 4-horse yesterday, really gave Stradivarius all you could. I think you got 3 to 5 on Stradivarius yesterday.
He was short, yeah.
Yeah, it was a short price, but again, one that just time and time again looks good. Like you talked about, Roaring Lion. Roaring Lion, it's going to be interesting what they do with the connections, because the connections could either retire the horse at this point and put it out to stud, or they're going to come for the Classic. So it's going to be interesting to see at this point, because the Classic does, if you look past Accelerate, you look past a couple other horses, Roaring Lion fits pretty well in there. So yeah, I know it's one of those situations where Europe comes over at this time. A lot of people haven't seen the races throughout the year, but they're coming over with a force, and John Cosden is going to come over with a bunch of horses that look to be very predominant.
And that's not unusual for the Europeans to come over and try that. It's not something they do normally, but you see it happen enough that, as I say, it's not unusual. And the game plan is, you're headed off to a stud career. You've already got the grade 1s, the group 1s on the resume on the grass over in Europe.
Yes.
If you can put the dirt grade 1 on the resume, that just ups the stud value. So that's why they give it the shot.
Yeah, and they were trying to see how the race was going to kind of unfold as far as who looks to enter and who doesn't. And then obviously seeing how Roaring Lion came out of yesterday's race. But I think all systems are a go. If we see that horse in there, it's going to be one to use in your multis at least. And we'll see what kind of price we get. My guess would be somewhere around 10 or 15 to 1 just because it's such an unknown type of horse. But over there, Roaring Lion's a name to know. So.
Yeah, they always had a fun storyline when they come over and try the dirt over here. Also, don't want to forget to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. Again, thanks to them for their sponsorship. Before we go any further, you and I were talking before the show. I will tip my cap to you. Got everybody on your bankroll team on Friday, a little dough. But I said to you, I felt bad. I thought I gave you the moosh.
I was actually going to give you a shout out that you texted me right after that race.
I thought I gave you the bad luck because I had been out during the afternoon. I came in. I'll fire up the TV when I got back to my place and see how you were doing. When I tuned in, you were doing very, very well. And then subsequently knocked out of the pick 4 at Woodbine, where at the top of the stretch you looked like a sure
you're gonna
thing.
win, exactly.
You got knocked out of the pick 4 at Belmont with a 13-1 shot, who loses by about that much. And then in the
my big play of the day was Daddy is a Legend.
the feature at Keeneland, you're coming down the stretch, you got $50 to win, you got some exacta money. And about the 8th pole, I thought, well, he's got this bet cashed. Go to the window. And that was the race where Daddy is a Legend went through the inside rail in a freakish performance. Otherwise, it would have been a home run of a day. It was still everybody walked away with dough.
When you break down being a handicapper, obviously it's money management, it's the handicapping part, and it's just racing luck. So at that point, I fit the first 2 categories. Racing luck was just not in my way. I mean, the first 3 hours, we were doing fine. Betting format-wise, we were doing okay. We kind of shifted gears, and my intention was Daddy is a Legend the entire time. And we had built up enough money where it was okay at that point to take a shot. So
yeah, you had a 50 to win.
And I even had Cool Beans, who was going toe-to-toe with her at that point. It was going to be a nice
the 50 to win, eventually 5-2 or 3-1.
3-1.
So it was
about 200 plus the exacta. It cost you about $300. Then you get lucky in any of those pick 4s. I mean, ultimately we ended up with 470, but it was easily one of those days where you said you could have had $1,000 at least.
That was a sure thing in the feature.
I mean, the good thing was a lot of people had the winners that I had for the first 3 hours. They were able to make some money. Ultimately, we made $20 per person for the team. And again, if the handicapping's right and you just don't get lucky, it's just, and I said it at the bankroll, it's just one of those situations where it happens to us at some point. We all go back. I watched the replay 4 times. And each time I'm like, how did this happen? But it's just one of those things. You move on and you hope.
And we were talking before
change.
We went on. When you watch the head on, I don't think it was so much the outside horse did anything to push her through the rail. It just got tight and she freaked a little bit and on her own kind of went.
Yeah,
through.
the one thing Manny rode her terrifically, but it was one of those situations where you hope that she kind of burst through the hole a little bit. She stayed in that hole.
Yeah, you knew it was tight.
It scared her a little bit, and then she wanted to jump the rail, and ultimately that's what ended up happening. But again, it was one of those situations where it was a good day overall. I was glad to see everybody here at the clubhouse, and they were really appreciative of all the handicapping. So, the bankrolls are tremendous, and stop by each and every one. We're going to have one up at Queensberry on Friday with Sully, so take advantage of it.
Yeah, it should be fun. So again, keep that in mind this coming Friday up at the Queensberry branch. All right, let's jump in and watch some of the racing action, and let's go over to Ascot and Champions Day. And again, they instituted this, 4 or 5 years ago, kind of I think an answer maybe to the Breeders' Cup, to have some big money races to keep horses over there at the end of the season. Cracksman in the Champion, and that's what we'll look at, the highlight of the day, the Champion Stakes Group 1 event, $1.75 million up for grabs at 1.25 miles. Cracksman's going to pull away and win pretty easily here, the number 2 horse. Just one of the better horses over in Europe. This was win number 8 and start number 11, over $3 million in earnings after this race. Hadn't been seen since Royal Ascot, though. That was the question mark. Ran second that day to Poet's Word at Royal Ascot, and they had tried to get back for some other races. They were a little concerned about the ground at one of the stakes races they were pointing to, and I guess the Arc was considered, decided not to go there, and they pointed here. You can see Frankie Dettori celebrating a little early there, but he's so far ahead. Yeah. He's pumping his fist about the 16th of a mile out, but clearly Cracksman was best in there. And if you looked at the field, he certainly deserved to be the overwhelming favorite and ran like one.
Yeah, Capri was coming out of 5th place performance in the Arc, and it was one of those you could consider in the race. And then Crystal Ocean was a horse that just time and time again has never been out of the money and has faced the likes of Enable when Enable came back and won her prep race, the September Stakes in September, ironically. And one of those situations where you take a look at the performance from Cracksman. obviously was pointed toward the arc, as you alluded to. Cracksman's a horse that doesn't like it soft, or that likes it soft, doesn't really like it hard. So one of those situations where they were looking to see if there's going to be rain that day. The forecast didn't show it, so they scratched out of the arc. You would have loved to see Enable versus Cracksman at that point.
Yeah.
Both of them being trained by John Gosden. I don't think he really wanted to face them ultimately, but it was, again, just a tremendous performance by Cracksman. And one of those, I think, where the connections have to be happy with the situation and how it all ended up turning out. So.
And from what I read post-race, it looks like last race of the career. You know,
Yeah.
son of Frankel, and with the career he's had so far, there's enough on the resume to go to the sidelines and have a nice stud career.
And the problem with that is the fact that Enable's already committed to the turf. You could have come over to the turf, but again, Gosden doesn't want to face both of those at this point. He's happy with both of them. And again, Cracksman's just been unbelievable throughout the career.
Yeah, nice performance yesterday over in Europe to highlight that Champions Day. Should mention also, we talked about it a second ago, but at Far Hills. And if you're not familiar, again, talked with Joe Clancy yesterday, and we showed some footage. They had some drone footage from last year or the year before. I'd love to go down. It looks like, you know, they get tens of thousands of people and tailgating and whatnot. The only thing they were missing, pari-mutuel betting. But Joe had said it, and I talked to Steve Bick. He's been down there, and a couple other people who have gone. Friend Brian Addo has been down there. And I guess even without the pari-mutuel betting, there was still a little action in previous years with the tailgaters putting chalkboards up and whatnot and trying to get a little something going. But they had the actual pari-mutuel wagering yesterday. And in the big race, the Grand National, the Grade 1, it was funny. There was I guess you put up $450,000 for a jump race, but there was a lot of Europeans coming over. And we talked yesterday about Jury Duty coming out of a second over in Ireland just a couple of weeks ago, and Jury Duty did get it done.
Absolutely,
yesterday
as
in
the
Grand
favorite,
National.
right? Around 6-5 or so. Very impressive performance. You saw about mid-stretch, you saw it was kind of over at that point. And again, it was just fun to see, fun to have wagering on a situation like that, because we follow them throughout Saratoga. Every Wednesday, Thursday, we have the Clancys on.
Yeah.
We talk about them. So you're able to see some horses that may be recognized during Saratoga running those stakes races down there. And you usually get some nice prices. I mean, the favorite won that race. But
Well, we were talking with Joe yesterday, and he said the crowd down there loves the racing, and as I say, in years past, they've had a little bit of action, but they aren't necessarily savvy. He said, some years there'll be horses with the red and white silks, which are the Rutgers colors, which is right in the neighborhood, and people will jump on those. And we kind of decided, maybe with a crowd like that is not necessarily savvy, maybe you could find a little value on the board.
You could, absolutely. And I think a lot of people just watch the board. It's one of those situations where you're just watching the board, seeing if there is any funny money or situationally where people who know and are in tune with this stuff can actually show you what's going to happen. So again, it was a great day, and I was glad to see that pari-mutuel wagering was offered.
Yeah, it was a fun afternoon down at Far Hill. All right, over at Keeneland, the Raven Run Grade 2 event, $250,000 for 3-year-old fillies sprinting 7 furlongs. Boy, a field of 14 here. And kind of continuing the theme at Keeneland, at least for me. It has been a skullbuster of a meet with some nice prices down there, and that continues in the Raven Run. We'll watch number 12, Shamrock Rose, get it done under Tyler Gaffleone. This was a Mark Casse trainee. 18-1. Blamed run second for Bill Mott at 9-1, and Take Charge Paula for Kieran at 22-1. The favorite was Moonshine Memories. Mike Smith was riding. Moonshine Memories at 9-5 disappoints, running 9th in the field of 14. But Shamrock Rose here, coming out of a win up at Woodbine in a stakes race. Prior to that, had won a stake at Presque Isle. So steps off of the synthetic onto the dirt, gets it done for Mark Casse. And again, nice little price.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of headlines out of this. You're seeing the stretch run here, but if you saw the backstretch, Take Charge Paula got squeezed out, and you're going to see, as the line shows here, steadied on the backstretch. That doesn't even show at all what actually happened. I mean, she got squeezed out and almost looked like she was going to get pulled up, lost about 8 lengths, somehow was able to regain her stride and came on to finish third. Take Charge Paula, I think, is a horse that's going to improve off that effort. And in one of those situations where just had really bad racing luck, blamed coming out of, off the long layoff, was a horse that was a huge overlay, set some quick and honest fractions. I think is a horse that it can improve as well. So you take Blamed and take Paul out of this, this mix here. I think those two can improve, and they're going to be prices next time out. So.
Yeah, and Blamed, you look down the past performances, you see 3 races at Zia and 3 races at Sunland. Obviously, those were not in the barn of Bill Mott. So moving into the barn of Bill Mott and coming away with a second place finish and a nice grade 2 at Keeneland says this horse might have a nice feature.
Especially off the long layoff. Just needed one that race. And
yeah,
I didn't expect
Sunland.
Exactly. I didn't plan to see Blamed on the lead. You kind of thought that Moonshine Memories was a horse that likes to go to the lead and set some quick fractions, but they went quick early, and it kind of set up for Shamrock Rose, who sat the perfect trip on the outside and was able to get the job done.
And the guys say they're going to try to get that backstretch run. Take Charge Paul is
you
going
have
to
to see
the
it.
number 11.
It's going to come up here, and you're going to think that she's going to get
Chicklet.
pulled up. So they're going to set some pretty honest fractions early. A little bit of a cluster to start off the race, and then.
She's going to be sitting, about 5th when it happens?
She's on the outside there, the number 11, as you alluded to.
Yeah, 3rd right now, and those light blue with the blue cap. The pink's right on the outside of her.
She's going to lose position right here, and then right here, backwards. She's still going backwards. And right here is when she regains her stride, and at this point, you're like, probably at best you finish 6th or 7th.
The chart, you don't normally see this. Comes out and at the start is 3rd, then 5th, and then 11th. That's 6th and 3rd.
But she's still on the outside here. Again, at this point, it's still a dreadful trip, and she's going to come on pretty strong to set it up, and no one else is running. So I think this is a race that the barn has to be, obviously it's unfortunate the way it ended up, but she's going to come back and run a pretty good race. So you might get a price on her.
And again, that's Take Charge Paul, the number 11 for
she's coming right now on the outside, and you're going to see her kind of pick up the pieces here to finish 3rd. But again, she's hard, so.
It is a nice performance, given that trouble on the backside. But a nice full field, grade 2 down at Keeneland, as I say, with the 18-1, $39 winner, $600 exacta, $3,000 triple for 50 cents. Which makes it what if my math is correct, $12,000 for $2. And I mean, as I say, for me, that's Keeneland's been kind of that way the entire meet. A little bit of a head scratcher as far as kind of predicting things.
Yeah, they're known for prices, but they've been even more of situation. I mean, a couple weeks ago, you had the back-to-back 13-1 over 70-1, and then 40-1 over a 10-1, and it's just been one of those
One
meets.
of those days I kicked myself because I've been talking for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, of the horses coming out of Kentucky Downs. And for years I've liked horses coming out of Oaklawn, and I would do occasionally box up the Oaklawn horses when they go to other venues, and you can get some value. Well, the Kentucky Downs horses ran 1-2 down at Keeneland about a week ago. It may have been that 13 over it was a $900 exacta for $1. The problem was there was about 5 of them in the race. Still, for $1, you can box those up for $20.
Yeah, I mean, deep field. I think the play at Keeneland, and if you're just ask me for one play at Keeneland, is the 50-cent pick 3. Being able to manage a ticket,
like the 50 cent
and the
pick
fact
3.
that you're going to get a couple prices in the mix, you just kind of go a little deep. The ticket doesn't cost you, nearly whatever it costs. Obviously, if it was $1, so you just go 3 by 3 by 3, it's going to cost you $13.50. So that's a manageable ticket. You hope for a little bit of a price, but even this 50-cent pick 3 with a couple chalks on top of this 18-1, $1.43. So
yeah, I would love for New York to add the 50-cent pick 3. What I like about it is you can play the pick 4, and you get through the first leg with like a $20 horse. You can kind of back up with a pick 3. With maybe some of the horses you didn't include.
Right, because the fields are so deep. So it's kind of like you're backing
$1,
yourself
it becomes too expensive to do that sometimes.
Absolutely.
For the 50 cents. So, and I've told the guys at NYRA, you get more of my money if you put in that 50-cent pick 3, because I'd be more at the $1. I'm not. It's not as attractive.
Well,
as
absolutely.
The
People are looking for coverage, and if you can't give yourself enough coverage, you become scared. So you just don't play. So it's one of those situations where if you accommodate the patron and the customer, like Keeneland's able to, you just
and
get
the fact
bigger
is,
pools.
New York's now one of the only holdouts really with the 50-cent pick 3. Most everybody else has gone to that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to Belmont and go through some of those Empire Showcase Day stakes races. We'll start out and we'll kind of go backwards from the Empire Classic. That was, of course, the highlight of the day. $300,000 up for grabs for the state-bred 3-year-olds and up, going 1 mile and an eighth. I had Jeremiah Engelhart on yesterday. We talked about Pat on the Back. Pat on the Back and Can You Dig It had both come out of the Evan Shipman, where Can You Dig It had won by a neck, but that was up at Saratoga. I thought Pat on the Back might improve with the return to Belmont. Jeremiah Engelhart agreed, and it is number 10, Pat on the Back, getting it done as the 2-to-1 choice. Nice late run, though, from Can You Dig It. Again, they were 1-2 in the Evan Shipman. They're 1-2 again yesterday in the Empire Classic, just in reverse order. Why not the West Point runner, the number 7, runs 4th in here, but a good performance by Pat on the Back.
Absolutely, a horse that just time and time again is a grinder each and every time. You know, the big breakout performance was probably, and we didn't know it at the time, was a couple months ago, back in late May, when the horse finished just ahead off of Diversify, and obviously what Diversify did going on from there. But again, set the ideal trip. If you watched any of the races yesterday, and it may actually play into today, you didn't want to be on the lead. It was one of those situations where you wanted to be about mid-pack, maybe a little bit farther back. The being on the lead was not where you wanted to be yesterday. Pat on the Back's at the ideal trip. Got the job done as the favorite.
All right, let's go to the Empire Distaff. $250,000 up for grabs, as the name would imply, for the ladies, going 1 mile and a 16th. I had it 4, 6, and 12. I put Hayfield on top. I thought Jeremiah's horse, trying Stakes Company for the first time, probably was coming in good form. Hayfield's the number 4, winds up 5th in the field of 10. Bonita Bianca, well, the number 12, was in my mix, just a little below, but it is Bonita Bianca for Jason Service, getting it done. Betting Public had it right, 5-2 favorite. Split Time, the number 9, runs 2nd, and Tis Now Smile runs 3rd. But Bonita Bianca, Michael Dubb and Company, Jason Service, and a horse that now has over $500,000 in earnings, with 7 wins and 14 career starts. You got to like that 50% win rate.
Yeah, absolutely. You knew around the far turn this race was over. Jose Lezcano had a handful of horse there and was able to just pull away. You take a look at some horses that maybe could come back off of some dud performances. English Shoal, Frosty Ann, were horses that kind of set decent trips in here, didn't really do much running, may get a price on them next time out, so horses to kind of watch for.
All right, let's move to the Sleepy Hollow, the 2-year-olds. These are always fun because these will be 2-year-olds becoming New York bred 3-year-olds next year, and that 3-year-old division on the New York side is always kind of fun to watch, to see if they can develop and either knock heads in the 3-year-old state-bred stakes races, or maybe move out into open company. And I think there is the potential amongst this group for that to happen. I went with Dugout on top, and I thought early I was going to be in a good spot. Dugout's the number 6 horse, the 5-2 favorite, coming out of an undefeated first 3 starts of the career for Larry Ravelli, but was adding an extra couple of furlongs to the last start, the New York Breeders' Futurity. Again, Dugout's the number 6 horse, and just kind of gets swallowed up after having been out leading things for much of the race. The horse I had right underneath, though, was Bank It, the Steve Asmussen trainee, who tossed in a clunker in the Bonguard last time, but that looked like an aberration to me. The races just before were very good, including a close-up second, 2 Dugout in the funny side up at Saratoga. And Bank It does it, not only does it does it pretty convincingly. The number 4 horse there by a chart margin of 5 3/4. Bustin Hoffman runs second. Of course, as the name would indicate, Bustin Stone's the sire there. And that one won the career debut, ran third in the Bonguard in the second career start. So in the third career start, that was a pretty nice second place finish. Strive for a Cure runs third. But again, Bank It may be one of those horses I was alluding to. Certainly he'll be a player in the 3-year-old state-bred division. But I would guess sooner rather than later they'll take a shot at open company. When you have $250,000 up for grabs, you stay in state-bred company.
Absolutely.
But you would think, as you get into the season where you potentially have a good 3-year-old, they'll try open company.
Absolutely, and you were talking about the last race, and I watched the Bank It race and actually had that horse 2 starts ago. Was on the lead. It was a contested pace, and predominantly throughout the career, Bank It was a horse that needed to go to the lead, set some quick fractions. You saw the change up in race dynamics where the horse actually sat off the pace, was 8th going into the first quarter there. Sat a nice trip under Rod Ortiz Jr. And I just think love the stretch out from a mile. I think they finally found a groove with this horse because, one of those situations where you don't always want to be on the lead in these races where they set really, really quick fractions like Dugout did. I know a horse that was undefeated going into it, so looked to be a really nice one. I just think they were going to, for Dugout purposes, they're going to cut back to about 6 furlongs. I don't think really like the stretch out in here. But again, like you said, I think Bankett's going to be a good one.
But as you alluded, though, the track may have played against Dugout a little bit.
It did.
So
it did.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Because nobody on the lead anyway was able to hang in there. So we'll see how horses come out of this day. But like you said, there might be a little bit of a track bias. May playing it today too. So if you're handicapping,
that plays into the last one we'll look at from yesterday, the Maid of the Mist for the 2-year-old New York-bred fillies. Our friend Roddy Valente with Cartwheel and Lulu, the 5-2 favorite. 2 starts coming into this, 2 wins, including a stakes race. Cartwheel and Lulu is the number 7, and really kind of ding-dongs through the early portions of the race with number 11, Kept True. And on the inside, Cartwheel and Lulu just gives it up a little bit late to run 5th. The winner here, number 2, Surge of Pride. I had the horse in the second slot. I had Cartwheel and Lulu on top. I had Surge of Pride in the second spot. I was a little bit surprised by the 15-1. Not shocked necessarily, because it was a 10-1 morning line. But this was a horse that had shown some talent in the career debut. Then they tried a stakes race last time, ran an okay 4th. The question mark was both of those were on the turf. But I thought with Cantheros on top, the dirt was going to be okay. So I was a little bit surprised at the $30 price. Elegant Zip second, Kept True third. As I say, Cartwheel and Lulu winds up 5th. And the other Jeremiah horse that we talked about with him yesterday, L.A. Page, who I thought was a little bit interesting, who had been purchased up here as a weanling up here at Saratoga in October of 2016. The same sale they had last week. This one was purchased. So L.A. Page, I think, is going to be okay for Jeremiah. This was an ambitious spot, and that one winds up 8th in the field of 11. But again, Surge of Pride, I think Linda Rice and company have a nice little 2-year-old New York-bred filly that they can go any direction they want with now.
You said, and like you said, a horse that loved the stretch out, and I'm not sure if we can bring up that stretch run again, but watch Surge of Pride trying to come into the stretch. The 9, Elegant Zip, just comes straight over and stops all momentum. So I think this is a race that's actually going to be better. The 2's on the rail right there. The 9, they're ultimately going to finish 1-2, but the 2's looking for room right there, completely stopped. And then at this point, angles out and is able to pick up the stride again and go clear from this field. So I think it's a better than it looks like as far as time-wise goes. 138, no one's going to be wowed by that performance, but I think is one of those situations where this horse is a little bit better than it shows on paper. So
yeah, nice performance, as I say. The first 2 starts were on the turf. They were pretty good. This one on the dirt, so they have the options. Again, stay in State Bred Company, go to Open Company, turf, dirt, so lots of options ahead for Surge of Pride, with that being only career start number 3. In the Ticonderoga, it was 55 over La Moneda. In the Hudson, it was Runaway Loot over Gold for the King. In the Mohawk, it was Offering Plan at 6-5, getting it done for Chad Brown and Michael Dubb and company. And in the Iroquois, Highway Star for Chester and Mary Broman. So it was a fun day down at Belmont yesterday. I said it when we talked about this series of races with Brian Nadeau on the Handicappers Report. These state-bred days are fun because they're usually nice competitive fields and a lot of familiar faces. So the handicapping, I won't say it's less of a puzzle, but it's with those familiar faces, you can jump in with maybe a little more confidence when you make your selection.
Absolutely, and usually there's 1 or 2 horses that take all the money. Yesterday, you really got paid if you found the holes in there, favorites that look to be a little bit vulnerable. But like you said, it's good to show off the New York-based horses and just great day racing.
Maryland Breds coming up a little bit later on. We have Frank Vespi joining us from the RacingBiz.com. He was down at Laurel. We'll do a recap of some of those Maryland Million races. But first, we'll take a break and come back. We'll give you some preview ideas for this afternoon. Mike and I took a look at some of the racing at the various venues and came up with hopefully some good ideas. We'll do that right after this break. Stay tuned.
Pick, bet, and cheer on live racing from Woodbine and Mohawk Park. Thoroughbred and harness action. The wagers are just the beginning. Watch award-winning broadcasts covering both breeds, incredible battles contested over the most unique grass course in North America. Experience the full fields with over 130 thoroughbred and 160 live harness days. Get access to free handicapping material and join the ranks of Woodbine and Mohawk Park players from all over the globe. For more information, visit woodbine.com.
Forever Unbridled has won the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Talismanic is the winner. Good Magic's gonna win his first race, and Gun Runner's on top of the world. He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic over Collective, then came West Coast, followed by More Story. Arrowgate was coming late, but too late.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slicks. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Mike Callahan, and as promised before the break, some ideas for this afternoon. Mike's got a few at Woodbine. I kind of split mine up between Keeneland and Belmont, but why don't we start with Woodbine's opener today. Maiden Specials, these are 2-year-olds going 3/4 of a mile. Mike, what you see in race one?
Yeah, we'll try to upset the favorites in here. I went 2, 4, and 6. We'll go with a first-time starter for Barbara Minshaw. And Patrick Husband's going to be aboard 6-1 on the morning line. Again, first-time starter with some really good works. You take a look at that last work on October 13th, 5 furlongs, 58-3, first of 16 that day. Again, taking a look at the pedigree is Autumn Munnings, who's 15% with first-time starters. Take a look at the dam. She did have a couple wins, but she was 7 for 12 in the money. 3 of 4 siblings are winners as well. I think this horse, hoping that the 6-1 stays. We might be at somewhere around 4-1, but for me, I just rather see the live action on this horse, and that's another time. So we'll put the number 2 on top. Underneath, number 4, Dancing Doll. One of the most experienced horses in here. Hasn't been able to get the job done in 4 career starts, but they've run some pretty honest races with this horse. Back-to-back second-place finishes, Buyers-wise, fits really well in this group. We'll see if the 4 can get the job done in the 5th career start. And then the 6, Never Sober, going out for Norm McKnight. The career debut was pretty honest. Went second that day, finished second to a runaway winner in Black Bess. Took a bunch of money that day, was actually the favorite 1-1 that day. They came home in a quick 57-2 for the 5 furlongs. Stretching out the additional furlong, I think, is going to help this horse, but did race against restricted company last time out. Now facing these open company in this situation. I think the water's going to go a little bit deeper. Ultimately, that's why I had the 6 in the 3rd spot. But again, we'll see if we can upset the favorites in here in the 1st with the 2. I have it 2, 4, and 6. All right, Seth, you're going to take a look at the featured at Belmont today. It's race number 8. It's the Grade 3 Athenia, $200,000 purse. A lot of notable names on leave: Rimska, Hawksmoor, New Money Honey. Who'd you choose?
Yeah, this is a nice field. Nice field of 9 scheduled. I have it 6, 3, 4, and 9. I left Hawksmoor out, and I could kick myself for that. I went back and forth where to put Hawksmoor. I went back and forth where to put everybody. But I wound up with Inflexibility on top. I think comes in good form. Tried the Canadian last time up at Woodbine, ran an okay 3rd. Before that, 5th in the Beverly D. Certainly we know the talent coming out of the Beverly D with Sister Charlie and 4-Star Crook. And it was a close-up 5th, so I don't think that was too bad of a performance. And prior to that was also up at Woodbine with a close-up 2nd place finish. The last win was back in April, the seasonal debut in Optional Claimers. So that's maybe a little bit of a knock against that this horse and stakes company hasn't gotten it done yet. But I just think the horse might be primed for a good effort. John Velasquez on board. He's having a really nice Belmont fall meet. So I'll tilt in that direction. But New Money Honey, of course, for Chad and E5 Racing. Also coming out of a race up in Canada. That same Canadian, Inflexibility was 3rd. New Money Honey was 2nd. And I say it a lot of times, sometimes we get clever and try to switch them up and they just come out in the same order. But as I say, to me, Inflexibility looks maybe a little bit primed for a good effort today. But New Money Honey coming out of the second place finish last time and really number-wise good improving numbers over the past few starts is certainly going to be tough. And then Indian Blessing in the third spot. This was a horse that came over from Europe and has put in a couple of thirds so far, including the First Lady earlier this month at the Keeneland meet. I think this one also primed for a good effort and finally maybe a breakthrough effort even off of that European form. So I can make a case for that horse too. I can make a case for On Leave. I can make a case for Hawksmoor. I think this is a very competitive race. That's why I wanted to touch on it. Not that I have a super confident opinion. I think it's going to be a fun race though. And you get a field like this, you probably find some value as well. I have it 6, 3, 4, and 9 in Belmont's 8th. All right, the 8th race at Woodbine. Talked a little bit about 2-year-old New York breds on the card yesterday at Belmont having the potential to go forward, make some noises. 3-year-olds, well, the Gray up at Woodbine every year produces some 2-year-olds that are worth keeping your eyes on as the calendar changes to the 3-year-old season in a couple of months. The Gray is a Grade 3 event, $125,000 up for grabs. Again, 2-year-olds going 1.16 miles.
Yeah, we're going to try to upset the favorite in here. 8, 7, 2, and 5. The number 8, Solidify, going to go out for Reed Baker. Again, one-on debut, very impressive that day. Sat about 7 lengths off the pace that day. Was able to grind him down and go away by a length. And a quick 1:17.3. First time out, that's pretty solid. The workouts have been tremendous. And again, this is not a normal Reed Baker angle. And the fact that the horse was bought for $7,000 and passed and beat a $500,000 purchase price last time out. I think they have a good one in here. Is a full brother to Peppered, who finished second in this race last year. So again, if you're just trying to beat the 7 Nastrick, who does have the class edge on this field, I think the 8 Solidify looks to be one that you could use in here. The number 7 underneath Nastrick, who, as I alluded to, one-on debut, going 7 furlongs on the turf. Last time out, did finish a creditable third behind Fog of War and War of Will, who look to go on to the juvenile turf. So I think nothing wrong with the 7 in here. It's probably maybe somewhere around 1-to-1. Blinkers are going to go on, and Josie Carroll's 25% with that angle. So there's really nothing to fault Nastrick in this situation. The only concern would be done both of those races on the turfs, now switching to the synthetic. We'll see what type of performance we get from Nastrick, but I think maybe slightly vulnerable in this spot. And then for third, the number 2 Tripwire. First time out, finished third, beaten ahead behind a couple in here, but was bet down heavily that day. He's going to go out for Mike Maker. You're going to get Eurico da Silva, who's one of the top jocks up at Woodbine. So I think it's going to be one that's forwardly placed in here, and there's not a lot of speed. The favorites in here look to be kind of closers in here. If Tripwire is able to set some pedestrian type of fractions in here, 8-to-1 is going to offer tremendous value. So again, it's one of those situations where if you look past the number 7 in here, Nastrick, I think there's a couple in here, and I'm going to use the 2 and the 8 to try to upset the 7. So I have it 8, 7, 2, and 5. All right, you're going to take a look at the Keeneland first, which is a maiden claiming 50. They're going to go 1.16 miles on the turf.
This is a fun race because I like Shoeless in here. 8, 1, 4, and 3. I first looked at Tax, the one horse, Ben Colebrook, horse by Arch. I just have a feeling this horse is going to run well off of that career debut and potentially a nice improved effort. But I think the same thing for Shoeless. Again, 8, 1, 4, and 3. Or excuse me, 6, 1, 4, and 3. If I went with the 8, I would be going with an imaginary horse in a 7-horse field. 6, 1, 4, and 3. Shoeless on top. By Golden Sense. And if you listen to me enough, you know Golden Sense is one of those 5 or 6 sires that I really kind of key on as producing wins sooner rather than later horses. Now, looking up the first-time out stats, and again, I realize this is a second-time starter, but those first-time out stats kind of indicate precociousness. Golden Sense, 42 first-time starters this year, 9 wins, 7 seconds, 4 thirds. So 20 in the money of 42, 16 of 42 running first or second. So Golden Sense, again, is a win sooner rather than later horse. Eddie Keneally horses do very well second time out. This horse is showing a first-time gelding symbol. Golden Sense on top I like. On the bottom, the dam herself had a sibling called My Every Wish that produced Firenze Fire. So the dam has, again, some relatives that have produced nicely, but the dam produced the dam of this horse, the dam of Shoeless, also produced a sibling called Camus Reserve. that was a debut winner. So the dam has some nice blood going to her relatives, but the dam produced a debut winner herself. So I think there's nice precociousness for Shoeless, top and bottom. And again, Eddie Keneally horses typically benefit from their career debuts. And that 7th place finish, I think the 8-1 morning line, given that 7th place finish, may hold up. So I think we'll get some value on Shoeless. I'm going to play around with that one a little bit in the opener today at Keeneland. Race 1, 6-1, 4 and 3. All right, and finally, Michael, take a look at the Woodbine 11th this afternoon. An allowance non-winners of one other than 7 furlongs the trip.
And again, just the trend as far as looking at the Woodbine, I wanted to identify 3 races where I thought the favorites were a little bit vulnerable in this spot. And the 2, who is the favorite in here and has done nothing wrong. I have in the 2nd spot, we're going to use the 6, Love to Learn. I have it 6, 2, 5, and 7. 6-1 on the morning line for the 6. Hopefully that holds in here. A horse that's been running against similar company, albeit it's been on the turf course, finishing 4th in the last couple. You go back to the last time this horse raced on the synthetic, who's going to run on today, shortens up to 7 furlongs. The horse won and broke the maiden at Woodbine going 6.5 on the synthetic. I think it's going to sit the ideal trip in here, whereas the last race I talked about looks to be a really type of slow race, the type as far as development goes. This race is going to be quick up front. The favorites are going to go at it. I think they're going to be their own worst enemy in this spot. I think Love to Learn is going to be one that benefits from in here, and Buyers Wise fits tremendously well. Hopefully, again, that 6-1 holds, but we use the number 6, Love to Learn, on top. Underneath the 2, Al Naya, a horse that I talked about, done nothing wrong. The last 5 starts has been 1st or 2nd each and every one, including that win 3 starts back. But the problem is a pace presence in here, and the 7, who also looks to be forwardly placed in here. I think they're going to be their own worst enemy. 7 furlongs was already a question for the 2 in this spot. We'll see if we're able to get the job done. For some reason, the 7 doesn't break in here. It's one of those situations where you don't know, but you just kind of foreshadow how the race is going to develop. Could absolutely win this race, but for me, I had to use underneath at the price we're going to get. And then the 5 in the 3rd spot, if you're looking for another long shot, that's World Riot, a horse that was able to drop and pop last time out, is facing winners for the first time, but another one who I think is going to be coming from off the pace in here. 12-1, tremendous value. Patrick Husbands is going to be aboard. I think that's one to use in here, especially for your multis. Throw that horse in the mix. So again, in the 11th at Woodbine, I see it 6, 2, 5, and 7. All right, you're going to take a look at the featured at Keeneland. It's the Dowager. It's a grade 3 event for fillies and mares. They're going to go 1.5 miles on the grass.
I have a 10, 1, 8, and 5. Vexatious on top for Neil Drysdale. When we were up at Woodbine, we caught up with Neil Drysdale in the paddock and talked a little bit about some of his horses racing that weekend. Vexatious, one of them. She was in the Northern Dancer facing the boys. I kind of got the feeling from him that this race was on the radar at Keeneland. So, ran okay against the boys, ran 7th, but it was okay. But as I say, I wonder if this one wasn't more on the radar and more in the wheelhouse. So a horse that most of the career has been in Southern California, up to Woodbine, but now has been training down at Keeneland with maybe this as a target. I'll put Vexatious on top. Viva Vegas comes in some pretty good form, having run a nice 2nd over at Monmouth most recently. But as I say, just with some numbers that are moving in the right direction, and Res Ipsa in the 3rd spot for Ian Wilkes. Another one like Viva Vegas, who just seems to be coming in some good form that could produce this afternoon. I think it's a fun, competitive race with a field of 10, but in the Dowager, I have a 10, 1, 8, and 5. All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. He was at Laurel yesterday. Get a little recap of Maryland Million Day right after this. Stay tuned.
Dirty windows? Don't do it yourself. Call Clean Image, your window cleaning professionals, and enhance the look of your business or home without the worry. Clean Image pledges nothing less than 100% customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed. Homes, offices, bed and breakfast, vacation homes, and more. Clean Image has cleaned them all. Carpet and floor cleaning, pressure washing, and janitorial services are also available. Call today, 446-1397. That's 446-1397. Online at clean-image.net.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Seth Merrill and Mike Callahan in the studio, joined now by our friend Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. Whenever we have Frank on, we'd like to tout the Racing Biz. If you want to follow racing in the Middle Atlantic region, no better place to do it than theracingbiz.com. And Frank, yesterday, one of your online contests as well. I meant to go back and check the scoreboard. I think the first four I swept, and then I went into a little bit of a slump, so I was curious to see where I wound up because I was slumping on some big prices. If folks had one or two of those, I'm sure I went down the list quickly, but that was a lot of fun yesterday.
Yeah, in fact, we had some technical glitches, so I don't have the scoreboard up yet. So if you come back a little bit later today to theracingbiz.com, you'll be able to find out how you did. But at the moment, I don't know how you did, and I apologize for that.
Well, as I say, I'm pretty confident. Somebody had to have one or two of those long shots, which I'm sure knocked me out.
They always do.
I had a couple of logical, 2 or 3 to start things out, and then I had like an $11 horse, and I was thinking, hey, I might be in good shape here. And then like the board blew up for a couple of races, and I realized, well, maybe I'm not in such good shape. But it's always fun. And again, the contests are kind of a regular feature over on the Racing Biz. But as I say, you guys cover the Mid-Atlantic, which includes obviously racing at Laurel, and you were there yesterday for the nice Maryland Million card. Just fill us in before we talk specifics. What was the day like, weather-wise, crowd and whatnot?
Well, it's always a great day, and I had for me, an unusual vantage point yesterday. I was actually hosting Maryland Million on TVG with Kate and Bradar, so I was, sort of sitting outside at trackside. They have a little trackside sort of platform built for that, and so it gives you kind of an interesting perspective because you got people leaning over the rail yelling at you, and you got, things in your ear, as you know, because you're on TV, and just a ton of distraction. I came away with a new appreciation of how much you folks on TV get to, have to not be distracted when there's a million things trying to grab your attention. But overall, it was a great day. The weather it held. It didn't rain, which is almost miraculous this summer and fall. So that was great, and they were able to be on the turf. They had this big concert sort of on the clubhouse turn. That was a little weird because you had this kind of thumping bass going all the time, and I think some of the horses didn't enjoy that too much. It was down kind of towards the paddock, which I think maybe some tweaking of that formula will have to take place in future. But they had a big crowd. Laurel did a ton of work. They were doing a lot of work on the facility, on the interior of the facility, right up to race day to get some new spaces open. And so the grandstand looked great. It was a big crowd. It was the highest wagering in 11 years. They did 5.7 million, which is a big number at Laurel. So overall, it was a great day. It's always a fun day.
And I saw you were doing TV yesterday. I didn't realize you were hosting. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, Caton was doing all the work. I was just, the doofus with the hat on. But I was happy. I did give out the late pick 4. So if anybody cashed on my ticket, congratulations. You can send me 10% if you're feeling generous.
So I should be looking over my shoulder when the resume comes through the slot.
Yeah, I like to give out a couple winners and then run because I don't want anybody to look at the rest of my picks. But no, it was really fun. And I actually, the funny thing is that the horse that I was most excited about betting all day was the horse that won the last race, which was a maiden claiming race.
Oh, wow.
I was like, this horse is going to win in this spot. So.
They pay just the same, whether it's a grade 1 worth $1 million or a maiden claimer worth $12,000. The ticket cash is just the same at the window. But I've been in the same situation as you, is one of those George Costanza days where you have a big day and it's like, good night, everybody, I'm out of here.
Exactly. Don't expect this to happen again, but I'm happy right now.
All right, let's jump in and take a look at some of the specifics, and let's kind of work our way back from the highlight. The Maryland Million Classic, $150,000 up for grabs for the 3-year-olds and up, and it is going to be number 7, Saratoga Bob, who went off as third choice at 7-2. Talked with Acacia Courtney yesterday, and this horse was certainly in the mix on folks handicapping maps. She liked Clubman. Clubman is going to wind up running third, the number 3 horse, splitting those at 35-1. Do That Dance under Katie Davis. but also notable if we're talking jockeys, the winner Saratoga Bob, Edgar Prado on board.
Yeah, Edgar Prado gets his 18th Maryland Million win.
Right?
That's the most of any jockey. And after the race, he said it was the cream on top of the cake. Not really sure where that phrase came from exactly, but no, it was very cool. There's Prado was excited, and this horse obviously figured Saratoga Bob, son of Frisian Fire. The whole question mark on him was, could he get the distance? He had never been 2 turns on the main track, and the answer clearly was he got the distance. This was not a great field for the Classic. This was kind of pretty much a 2 other than allowance in terms of quality, but it was a great betting race because, I went 5 deep in my pick 4 here. And I could have probably added another car. I went 5 deep, and I did not have Do That Dance, who probably was best in here, could have worked out a clean trip, would have won. But this was a neat moment. This was the first. Katie Voss is she's a Merriman by birth. The Merrimans have been racing in Maryland forever and ever. This was her first Maryland Million win, or Maryland Million Classic win, and it capped off a great day for the Merriman family. Her sister Ann Merriman won one of the starters earlier on the card, ran third at 28-1 with Grandiflora. In the Turf 1 race prior to the Classic, and then her brother Ed Merriman won the last race with Awesome Jazz. So really a nice day for kind of really long time Maryland racers. So that was kind of neat to see as well.
Yeah, very good. And I can't make too much fun of Prado with the cream on top of the cake, because Bick always makes fun of me. I was on his radio show one day, and I referred to the parakeet in the coal mine. And he paused and he said, it's not the parakeet, it's the canary. And he reminds me of it. He reminds me of it all the time. Parakeet's going to do the same thing as the canary, though. Come on.
Come on. Exactly. And you might put cream on top of your cake. Who knows?
Yes. So I'm giving Edgar Prado a pass on that one. I wanted to touch on something, and as you talked about the field in the Classic, it reminded me. Can you explain the AE situation yesterday? Because it wasn't so much field size; it was more conditions and sires, correct? Because there was I think it was the third race where there was a field of 7, and the 8 and the 9 were AEs. Now, clearly, 9 horses can fit in the gate, so it was a little bit of a strange situation with the also eligibles yesterday.
Yeah. So the situation is this: the Maryland Million is a sired program, not a bred program. So the horses that get preference are the progeny of stallions that stand in Maryland, and the rule is if at least 6 of those face the starter, the race closes. So what happens is, like that race you mentioned, I think it was the Distaff, they had 7 Maryland sired. So if 2 of those had scratched, the other 2 on the AE could have drawn in.
Yeah,
but you'd have to have 2. So it's really, the goal here is really of Maryland Million is not to promote the state bred program per se. It's to promote the Maryland Stallions.
Yeah, got it. Because that was a question of mine as I pulled up the PPs, particularly that third race, which was a little bit funny, but that explains it. All right, the Maryland Million Turf, $125,000 up for grabs. A mile, as the name suggests, on the grass. The big favorite here was number 11, Flash Phelps. 3-5 favorite. Flash Phelps is going to be the number 11 horse and wind up second. Number 2, Talk Show Man, makes a nice late run at 3-1, the second choice to get it done. Grandiflora runs third at 28-1. But again, nice performance by Talk Show Man. Okay run from Flash Phelps, who winds up second. But Talk Show Man is a horse that has been kind of knocking around this Maryland scene for quite a while. Started the career with some promise and certainly lived up to that here as a 8-year-old, getting it done in the Maryland Million Turf.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite races on the card. You had a situation where you got Talk Show Man. He's 8 years old. He won this race in 2014. In 15, they tried the Classic with him. He missed his 2016 season altogether with the kind of not major injuries, but kind of just like nagging stuff that just needed a long time to get right. 2017, he comes back in this race, loses by a neck. So here he comes back, facing off against Flash Phelps, who won this race in 2015 and 2016. So this was a really neat kind of, these two old, kind of classy old war horses coming together here. And it was a weird vibe, I thought, in terms of the betting and in terms of the attitude at the track. There was this kind of feeling that Flash Phelps was just this towering, beast against horses that really didn't have any chance. And I love Talk Show Man in this spot. I didn't get I mean, don't get me wrong, Flash Phelps is a good horse, and maybe if he gets a better post position, the outcome's a little different. But I thought Talk Show Man had a tremendously useful return of the races when he was rallying fourth in the Wall Dash. I thought that was a really good effort at a too short distance, and I thought drawing an inside post here versus Flash being outside, and you just don't win. It's hard to win from the parking lot at Laurel. And, that may have hurt him, but I just thought Talk Show Man, I thought this was a great spot for him. So I was really happy to see him run like that. And Mike Harrison, who's the owner, he also bred the horse. Kind of a neat story there, but he was asked afterwards, is he going to come back and try and defend his title as a 9-year-old? And he said, I would defer to Talk Show Man, and he'll tell us what he wants to do. So I thought that was kind of neat.
And you talked about the odds, and I'm just looking at the morning line here. The 8-5 on Flash Phelps was probably a little more reasonable. 8-5 to 3-1 is more of a gap between those two that you could kind of buy into, as opposed to what they went off as the 3-1 and 3-5.
Yeah, I totally agree, and because I really think Flash Phelps is very good. There's no question. Talk Show Man has been his form has been kind of in and out during his career, but on his best days, I think he's every bit the horse of Flash Phelps. I mean, and his best days are spotty. You don't always get them, but he has run some really, really good races in his career, including winning the Henry S. Clark Stakes a few years back, and I think today he brought it. He ran a really good race here. I really want to give Hevion Toledo, the jockey, some credit here too. I thought he gave Talk Show Man an absolutely perfect trip. He kept him covered up all the way for 6 furlongs, tipped him out, head of the lane, gave him clear running room, which is what he wants. And then he ran on and got the job done. I thought that was just a perfect trip, which is credit to the jockey.
All right, let's move on to the 2-year-olds, the Maryland Million Lassie 2-year-old fillies going 3/4 of a mile. And again, we talked a little bit about it at Belmont earlier with the New York Breds 2-year-old state breds on that program. These kind of races have the potential to produce nice 3-year-olds moving forward, not only in state bred programs, but potentially in open company as well. I put Miss Philly Dilly on top as a maiden. I thought the first 2 races were pretty good. The betting public agreed. She was the 9-5 favorite, running 3rd. But as we saw coming under the wire, it's number 2, My Star Potential, who I liked underneath. I had that one in the 2nd spot. Broke the maiden in the career debut at Timonium, and then got a nice 2nd place finish at Parks and an allowance last time. She wins by a chart margin of a length and a half as a second choice at 2-1. So My Star Potential, now 2 wins and 3 career starts. But again, interesting to me, a story that has kind of bubbled up over the past couple of months. We've seen it happen in New York with some of the stakes action there, and a couple of Parks horses will head to the Breeders' Cup with potential, but My Star Potential comes out of the Parks race and gets it done. Parks Performers doing all right so far this fall.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of that program seems to be a little bit on the upswing, and Parks is a strange place. There are horses that go there and just do not like that racing strip, and just don't run over it. And I don't know what it is about it, but other horses do, and typically if you run well there, you can typically take your show on the road. It's kind of like you can export from there and be fine. Importing into there doesn't. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this horse ran. I mean, the chart margin, as you said, was a length and a half. This was not a length and a half race. She just thrashed this field, and was. I think it was about 5 lengths leaving the furlong grounds. Very easy win. And one of the things that we've been seeing over really the last year, roughly, Claudio Gonzalez, who really has made his chops as a claiming trainer, has started to get a bunch of 2-year-olds. And he's doing pretty well with them, and this horse looks like she might be the best of his group right now. This was a pretty impressive performance. She again, third straight race she had gait issues, but she managed to kind of rush up inside, and then it was all over once she got to the lead.
You talk about trainers. I don't know whether you know the answer to this, but being down in Maryland, I'll ask. I meant to look it up. It came up a couple of weeks ago as I was looking at PPs. Was there a split between Ollie Figgins and Sagamore?
Ollie never had Sagamore.
Who am I thinking of?
Horacio De Paz.
Yeah, De Paz. That's what I meant. Yeah.
I think he's still training for them, but he has added other clients, I believe.
Okay. And they have gone to a couple other trainers as well, it looks like, too. And whom I think it's Stanley Huff, maybe, had some horses for Sagamore. But I got to look that up.
Up in New York.
But you're right, it is De Paz. I had my Maryland trainers mixed up there, but it was De Paz.
Easy enough to do.
Yeah, there are a number of them, and I don't watch it as closely, certainly, as you do. But let's go and wrap things up looking at more 2-year-olds. The 2-year-old males, purse of $100,000 up for grabs in the Maryland Million Nursery, 6 furlongs the trip. I liked Follow the Dog. I had that one down in third in my handicapping, but on the Racing Biz website when I played the contest, I used Follow the Dog on top. I thought that one would offer a little value, and it is the number 11, Follow the Dog, over number 3, Sky Magician. The horse I put on top, the horse everybody kind of like, Scrap Copper, disappointing 7th in the field of 9 as the 6-5 favorite, but a nice $9.60 winner here for Follow the Dog. Career start number 4 and a pretty good-looking win. This one a chart margin of 3 1/4.
Yeah, this was a good-looking win. And Scrap Copper, who you mentioned, had gate issues. He stumbled pretty badly leaving the gate, and it was all over for him after that. He never really got involved, and he was kind of being eased at the end. But having said that, I also like Follow the Dog in this spot. I thought this was a horse that had really run pretty well, even though had not actually crossed the wire first, but had been put up by DQ in one race, but had run second to a horse named Boss in his debut. Boss was a horse that there was a ton of buzz around. Like those connections were thinking Breeders' Cup with that horse when he debuted. He finished behind Scrap Copper in his first race, came back, won his second race, which was Follow the Dog's first race, and he ran second to Boss. So there's nothing wrong with that. And then he broke his maiden. Then he had run 4th in an allowance. But the winner was a pretty interesting horse. I think it's a John Service horse who had been very impressive on debut. Kind of had a bad effort in a stakes race, but then had come back and won this allowance. He was getting blinkers. I thought this was a horse that would run well, and he did. He was clearly best. He kind of went up and pressed the pace of a long shot and drew away with Pimentel up and for trainer Mariah Montoya. It was also the first Maryland Million win for one of our new young sires, which is Bandbox. So that was kind of neat to see. There were Tri-Tap also was a new sire who got a winner. So a couple of new sires got their first Maryland Million winners yesterday, which is also nice to see.
And we're running out of time, but just quickly, favorites in 3 of the other stakes on the day. Won pretty nicely. Lewisfield looked great in that sprint. Ran away. Yeah, I mean, he ran away from that field and legitimate, too. 21, 44, 56 and change, and 109. We're watching it right here. Lewisfield is the number 2 horse on the outside. Coming around the turn, he's kind of dueling, but they come into the stretch, and he just pulls away and hides from this field. So that was really impressive. My sister Sledge wins as the 3-5 favorite in the Maryland Million Ladies. She just gets up by a neck, however, over a 69-1 My Vixen. So that was a little more of a work for the chalky favorite, My Sister Sledge. And earlier on the day, if you were going for the hunch bet, you wanted a single on your card, 2-5 Crab Cakes was the one to go for in the Maryland Million Distaff.
Yeah, I mean, all of those were kind of neat. Crab Cakes and My Sister Sledge, both defending champs. Lewisfield, a prohibitive favorite in there. And the Crab Cakes race ran just exactly the way last year's race ran, where she held off My Magician, who really tried hard in this spot, but Crab Cakes just a little bit too good. But I think Lewisfield was just the most impressive. I mean, you could see early on the horse he was dueling with, who I liked in this spot, one more great time. Lewisfield was right up at his throat latch, and Toledo had an absolute stranglehold on him while one more great time was running pretty freely. So when Toledo let him go, it was all over. That was just a really, really big effort from Lewisfield.
Yeah, he gave a shot in the DeFrancis in the race prior, and moving back in against this restricted company, just had the edge on that field. Looked really good. It was a nice day. It was a really fun day of racing down there. Always is. Hats off, as always, to Jim McKay. I'm assuming there was probably some Jim McKay tribute videos on the big boards during the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of love for Jim McKay, and there's a lot of people who have fond memories. I heard a quick story about him the other day. They had a gala the night before, which I served as the MC of. But when you're at a gala, if you're MCing or whatever, it's always very hard to get the crowd to pay attention to you. And somebody was telling me the story that when McKay did it, I guess it was the first year, maybe he'd had a couple drinks, but the whole crowd, he said, was really boozy and loud. And McKay walked up and just said, "Good evening, everyone." And he said, you could have heard a pin drop after that. It's like, this guy would say, this guy's an auctioneer, and he was saying, I can't get anybody to pay attention to me, but he just says that, the crowd just goes silent, So everybody has, many, many fond memories of Jim McKay, who was the founder of this event, who modeled it after the Breeders' Cup, who got the sponsors to get it going, and won a Maryland Million race with a horse named for his son. So, a lot of fond memories there.
Yeah, it's certainly, again, there's videos floating around every year about this time. It's good to take the opportunity to remember him and how important he was just to not just to Maryland racing, but the idea spread around after that as well. Frank, as always, appreciate the visit. Again, tout people to swing by the racingbiz.com for recaps on all the action in the Mid-Atlantic region and more. And Frank, we'll talk again in the future.
Guys, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Have a great Sunday.
Appreciate it. Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com, completing our look at some of the stakes action from yesterday, which we're counting down. We're
getting there. We're getting there to the big weekend.
Couple of weeks, week and a half, better part of a week and a half away from some big action, as it were. Less of that, actually, as we get close now. But
yeah, seminars next Thursday.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I will let you hit some of the promos coming up.
Put on the marketing hat. Obviously today, our football Sundays, every NFL Sunday. And again, come down, sign up on the Square Board. We have a halftime prize of $20 food credit. We also have the ultimate prize, which is the final score prize, where you win an NFL jersey. Also, wear your NFL jersey and you get free admission here. We have all the games. We have the Sunday NFL ticket. We have horse racing. We have a beautiful restaurant, Legends Field. So it's a perfect spot to come down, watch some great football, bet some horses, have some good food and beverage as well. So stop down to the clubhouse today. I'll be here to sign up people on the Square Board. Also, this Friday upcoming, we're going to have the $300 bankroll. Bankrolls have been going quite well. You had the big score at Boulevard. I had a pretty good day on Friday. Sully's going to pass the baton on to Sully on Friday. And he's going to get
pressure's on.
If he's watching right now, $300 bankroll. 15 people will be attached to it. Stop up to Queensbury. Beautiful location. It's very spacious. Great location right there in that shopping plaza up there. So stop by and take advantage of that. The bounty bets this Friday. $1,250 is in the pool right now. Late pick 4 at Belmont, and again, I say all the time, it's one of the great promotions that we have here. We have many great promotions here at Capital OTB, but take advantage of it. Play the pick 4 through your account. If you hit the pick 4, obviously whatever the pick 4 pays at Belmont, you'll win, but it makes you eligible for the Capital OTB side of things, which is $1,250. If the only one to hit it, you get all $1,250. If 2 or more people hit it, 25% will be shared amongst those winners, and 75% of the pool will be carried over. So we've seen some people hit with some realistic tickets and take down the entire pool. So take advantage of that on Friday. Also on Saturday, we have the $100 Win-A-Bet contest, the Road to the Breeders' Cup Challenge. So take advantage of that. You're going to see on the promotional calendar the fan appreciation at St. Charles Hotel. That actually had to be rescheduled, so just wanted to let everybody know about that. We did have the owners of St. Charles Hotel get a hold of us, so they had to reschedule that. So that will be rescheduled from this Saturday to a date that we'll note you on later on. And then also, Breeders' Cup week coming up. We do want to let you know, for new account purposes, we do have the Bet 50 Get 50 going on, but we're going to put out the Bet 200 Get 200. It's going to start on the 29th, Breeders' Cup week. It's going to go all the way through the Breeders' Cup, so take advantage of that. If you're a new account holder, you're going to see all these new account bonuses throughout all these ADWs. Ours has no requirement. It's the best new account bonus you can have. Bet 200, get 200. Once you open an account with us, you put $200 in, you wager that $200 for the Breeders' Cup or whatever day you choose during that week. You'll get $200 back. There's no requirement. All you have to do is wager that $200. With other ADWs, it's a little different, but with us, it's very straightforward. So take advantage of that. Let anybody know about new accounts. You know, for me, I'm going to let my sisters know, my mom know, and it's really a great thing to take advantage of. So we're going to have the Bet 200, Get 200. There'll be more information at capitalotb.com and throughout the weeks to come. And then also the Breeders' Cup Seminar on Thursday, which is going to be Thursday, November 1st, 7 p.m. is going to be that seminar. It'll be myself, you, and Sully. We'll also have some complimentary soda and some coffee as well. We'll also have a waitress on hand. So if you want to stop down, grab some dinner, and listen to us kind of handicap the races, take advantage of that as well. And then the Breeders' Cup coming up on that Friday and Saturday. Do want to note the Breeders' Cup bankroll, the $3,000 bankroll. I'm going to kick it off. I've never bet leadoff in my life. Usually I was like the 3 or 4 hitter in baseball because I was so big. But I'm kicking it off as far as leadoff goes. As far as that Friday, I'll have $1,000 to play with. You'll have $1,000, so will Sully. But to sign up, there's 3 categories. The top 25 from this month will be eligible and part of the bankroll team. As far as signups online, 50 patrons will be part of the bankroll team. So go to capitalotb.com and sign up there. And then also you can sign up here at the clubhouse. Grab a slip, put it in the entry. That'll be going on to the 28th. 25 people will be chosen here at the clubhouse, so take advantage of that as well. And again, you have to wager on both days of the Breeders' Cup to be eligible. If you're chosen to the bankroll team, 100 patrons total. It's a great promotion that we have here. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully we're going to make a lot of money for that bankroll team. So don't forget to sign up for the great races that are going to happen and the great weekend that's going to be coming up here in the Breeders' Cup. So there's a lot going on here at Capital OTB, and take advantage of everything.
Yeah, it should be a great week leading into the Breeders' Cup. A couple of great days of racing as well. So looking forward to that. And I'm just pulling up. I pulled up actually the NYRA website because I was wondering what the payoff was on that cross-country pick 4, which included the 2 at Far Hills and the 2 at Belmont. I didn't see that, but I'm glad I pulled it up because it reminded me. Congratulations yesterday, Javier Castellano, 5,000th career victory.
That's unbelievable. I know they did a little segment knowing that it was eventually going to happen, and he said it himself. He's like, I never would have thought that I would ever get to 5,000 victories. Incredible. But I mean, kudos to him. He absolutely deserves it, and again, one of those milestones that you never forget.
Became only the 34th jockey so far in history to do that. And also, I mentioned this yesterday, but this is worth reiterating again too.
They're bringing back the late pick 5
coming back starting Wednesday this week. So if you're a pick 5 player, there'll be a couple at Belmont every day. Yeah, which I assume, I think they didn't do it because I'm assuming they didn't want to overlap. Which you know,
well, if
this
you remember
time
last year, they cut it off at the
same
time, and then they brought it back for the Cigar Mile. It was a one-day only thing, and then they didn't re-kick it off until later on the next year. But because it's just a popular bet, and a lot of people asked for it to come back, NYRA listed, and they're bringing it back. So
now I got to get them to listen to 50 Cent Pick 3.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like you said, it's one of those things where if you're just trying to format a ticket, and again, there's the handicapping side. But there's also the formatting side, and that's completely
I've been saying
different.
for the last few weeks that 20 cent pick 4 up at Woodbine, because you think with 20 cents there's not going to be a lot of value. But, and I said last week, I played one while I was sitting in here doing OTB Live, I think last Saturday. $7 winner, $7 winner, $10 winner, $20 winner. For 20 cents, it paid $190.
Yeah.
And I went with a ticket that was 3x3 by 4x4, which cost at 20 cents, Costs $28, so turn 28 into 190.
Yeah, I mean, when we went up
so
for
they don't have to be
Woodbine
crazy.
Mile weekend, that pick 5 sequence, the early pick 5 sequence, paid $27,000 for 20 cents. There was one probably horse that you couldn't figure out on paper, but if you just spread in that race, the other 4 were logical. 27,000 for 20 cents you put together, or even you go halves with a couple partners, you know what I mean, a couple friends, you put together a $300 ticket, everybody goes in for $100. That's the way you make the big scores, you know, especially when you have that bankroll and it's realistic, but you're kind of attached with another person. You know, those are the ways, you know, you can really make some money.
Yeah, 20 cents, you can have some nice coverage. And again, I don't say it because it's not like a sure thing. You're not going to get that $100. It can chalk out and it doesn't pay so well.
That's very
It can be
frustrating.
crazy and you don't cash the ticket. My point is, though, a lot of people, I think 20 cents, boy, you're just not going to get any value there. But you can. Well, as I say, that ticket I had last week, that wasn't crazy. The two $7. Yesterday, it paid, because I played the pick 4, it paid for 20 cents, I think it was $350, and the sequence started with like a 6-5 favorite. And there was one in the sequence that was a little bit you'd have to search around for, but I don't even think that was like totally out of left field. I didn't have it. Knocked me out of the sequence.
That was about a month and a half ago. I played a pick 3 at Woodbine for $1. I singled a horse that was the favorite at 3-1. It was a lukewarm favorite. I get a $22 horse and a $70 horse. The $70 horse was one that was just, you kind of spread out there and you didn't trust the race. $2,000 for $1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's where it's like you don't think it's going to happen, but you got to be in it to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. So for the 20 cents there, you would have pulled down $400.
Exactly.
So
$400.
All right. Going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Seth Merrill and Mike Callahan gave you some ideas for this afternoon. Took a little look back at yesterday's action. I'll be back in about an hour and a half or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon, looking at some of the action at Woodbine, Keeneland, Belmont, and Saratoga.
As we're looking up
today.
right there, pick 6 carryover at Belmont, $37,000.
$37,000. Sully and I were up at Saratoga Harness on Thursday, so thanks again to the folks up there for their hospitality. I said in promoting it over the days ahead, I said, come down and say hello. And a bunch of people stopped by and said hello. So
That's
it was
great.
a fun day at Saratoga Harness last Thursday. But again, we'll be looking at those races on the Sunday afternoon card as well, all in about an hour and a half. Mike, good luck.
Good luck. Good luck to you as well.
And all of you out there, again, wrapping things up for this edition of Racing Across America. An hour and a half or so, we'll be back with OTB Live. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.